welcome to a new episode of the 2 News Oklahoma Cold Case podcast. We're going to do things a little bit different for the next couple of episodes. Sharon Phillips, our anchor, who works on these cases for the TV product, and me, the digital director, Katie, our schedules just have not been matching up, and we don't want to keep getting behind on helping get these stories out there on other platforms. So with Sharon's permission, I'm going to talk about a couple of cases that we've already featured on TV, but we haven't had time to really talk about on the podcast. And, you know, me being a podcast nerd, we just think it would be another way to get the stories out there and hopefully help find some justice, some answers for the families. That's really why Sharon and I both love doing the podcast and love doing the cold cases. I say love in the sense that it's like a passion of both of ours, is just to kind of see these unsolved crimes through. Both of us have been in the news for a while now. I'm a Tulsa native, so a lot of these cases are cases I've heard about for years. And the cold case detectives are frustrated, and so we're just want to help get them out there. So this week we're going to talk about Walter and Grace Brown. They were a married couple who lived in Tulsa. In 2006, they were older. They were both in their 60s. In broad daylight in 2006, someone, or possibly more than one person, forced their way into their home, and they were both beaten to death. And it was one, broad daylight. Like, that's usually when people think they're safe. So it's really kind of a crazy time for something like this to happen. Police have also talked about there not being any motive. They think maybe it started out as a robbery and then it became a crime of opportunity once they got in the house. I'm going to read a little bit from Sharon's story, kind of some of the details she got while she was out talking to them. She talked to the Tulsa Police homicide detective Jason White, who she talked to for a couple of these cold cases, and he really takes these cases to heart. And you can see, I'll play some sound from him in a little bit, but you can really see the weight this is on him and how much he wants the families to find answers, and he wants someone to get justice, someone to pay for what happened to Walter and Grace. So, as I said, in 2006, in broad daylight, investigators say that someone either walked in or forced their way into the house of Walter and Grace Brown. Here's Jason White, as I mentioned, talking a little bit about what happened after the suspect got in.
Happened was that both Walter, who was 67 at the time, and his wife Grace Brown, who was 63 at the time, they both were bound, and there was a lot of just violence inside of the home. It definitely appeared as if the suspects had been in the home for a considerable amount of time, doing basically just inflicting a lot of torture and whatever else to these people.
So it's really hard to hear stuff like that, knowing this is something that someone's doing to another person. As I mentioned, White said motive is still unclear. He thinks maybe it started as a robbery, someone just walking down the street, or even maybe was familiar with the area, could have known that an elderly couple been there and just been like, oh, I probably can go in and overpower them or not, or something like that. I mean, I would think in the middle of the daylight, you would assume a house is empty. But who knows? Sharon went and talked to some neighbors who were still there, and this was so interesting to me. One of the neighbors they talked to, Laura Gutierrez, lives 2 doors down from the Browns. She was pregnant with her daughter when they were murdered, and when Sharon interviewed her, that daughter, who's now a teenager, actually helped translate as the mother was talking about what happened. And she had a doctor's appointment that day, and she went and she was leaving and she saw Walter out mowing his grass, and she said that wasn't unusual. They took really good care of their lawn. So she didn't think anything of it when she left, and it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then they came back, and she does remember seeing his garden tools still outside, but she didn't see Walter or Grace. But she did tell Sharon, how nice the couple were. They would be sitting on their front porch swing with each other. They love spending time together. And it's just so sad. Like, you just think of someone living like a normal day in their life. So police did a significant amount of work on this case. They had DNA to test, but no matches. And that's something that I think gets overlooked a lot with all the podcasts and the true crime shows. Like, you think if you get DNA, that's a slam dunk. It's going to lead you to whoever it is, but you have to have something to test against it. So having the DNA down the line will be huge, but at this moment, it's not enough to lead to whoever killed them. So, that's hopefully something that's just sitting in an evidence locker, ready to go. It just like we've seen with like the Golden State Killer and other cold cases, the Long Island serial killer that was recently arrested, the suspect who was recently arrested. Like, that's the kind of stuff that hopefully will still help. Like, this is good detective work, will pay off, hopefully down the line. And back to the neighbor, she said the police, came down and they talked to her. She lived 2 doors down. But no one saw signs of anything until the couple were found inside their home. Jason White really just wants anyone who may have seen something, who may know someone, may have heard someone talking about it, to come forward. You can call Crime Stoppers, which is 596 COPS. You can remain anonymous. So if you're worried of retribution or anything being linked back to you, that's an option for everybody. And it's something that, I think that's a good point to think about with cold cases. Like, sometimes people who know something might not come forward for, fear. Just fear for themselves because of what they may know or who they may be implicating in something. So I think it's important to always know you can remain anonymous and still get the information to police if you need to. Walter and Grace Brown, if you go to our website, kjrh.com, you can click on the cold case tab and you can see their story. You can see what a sweet, loving couple they were with some of the photos that Sharon got when she was talking to people about them. And then we would love it if you would share the story on your Facebook page, share it on your Instagram, your thread. Tweet it. Anything to help us spread the word about their crime, help people remember what happened to them, because the more people remember, then the more that could trigger something. The right person could see it. And it's really just very important to help these families get the justice they need. Thank you for listening to Walter and Grace's story, and we will be back next week with another episode.